Hello, welcome to Business Reporters, the Best of British Business campaign. I'm Ashley Blake. Companies are under growing pressure to decarbonise. It's not just about their reputation. There are also financial, environmental and social implications, which create very real risks for companies that don't have a well-developed decarbonisation plan and a robust overall ESG score. In many companies, the desire to change is there. What's lacking is a practical, evidence-based and thoroughly costed plan for decarbonising their assets and operations. And yet it is still possible to build a robust decarbonisation plan today as long as you turn to the right experts. Experts like Chris Paddy, Chartered Engineer and Managing Director of Pad Energy, who's here to tell us more about decarbonisation plans. Let's start. What is a decarbonisation plan and why are companies struggling to produce one?
So a decarbonisation plan describes the company's energy use, and it also outlines how the company is going to reduce that energy use and decarbonise its systems.
Okay, so how detailed is this plan? Is it a set of commitments or a detailed technical roadmap?
A decarbonisation plan is a very detailed document. So it goes into finite detail around various different processes within your particular sites. It builds on that data, that granularity of data to create workable solutions on that particular site that we know can be implemented, and very importantly can be implemented for an exact cost. It gives the board of directors a confidence that with that detailed plan, they can actually deliver the solutions they need to deliver to meet their net zero, their decarbonisation targets by the dates they've actually agreed to deliver those targets by.
But many companies have ESG scores and strategies. Is ESG and decarbonisation essentially the same thing?
An ESG score pretty much outlines a company's exposure to environmental and social governance risk. So this is actually very different to a decarbonisation plan. So you could have a good ESG score, and that is great, but you also need a detailed decarbonisation plan that shows how you're going to decarbonise your processes and your factories. And this will all feed into your ESG score later on and improve your ESG score as you develop out your decarbonisation plans.
So why do decarbonisation plans matter? What are the risks of not having one?
So very much I would suggest two key risks here, one reputational and one financial. So reputationally, customers now and governments are all very much focused on net zero. So if you don't have a robust decarbonisation plan, then you will lose customers and you will pay higher taxes. Companies that are slow to decarbonise are putting their businesses at huge risk with regards to being able to raise finance to run and operate their companies.
Right, so a decarbonisation plan is crucial and sadly still missing in many organisations. How does Pad Energy help to change that?
So Pad Energy is a firm of experienced chartered engineers. So we're very much specialists at looking at process plant and developing engineering solutions for large, complicated factories, both in the UK and also very much globally. We understand various different process plants in different countries, and we regularly create solutions on how to decarbonise whole factories or even single product lines within factories, and we produce solutions for customers that are very robust, they're detailed from the ground up, and they're planned in such a way that a company has confidence that they can implement that solution on their site for a fixed cost.
What does this process look like? How do you work?
So the way we produce our decarbonisation plans is we would initially gather some detailed data from various sites across the business, And at that stage, we arrange site visits, we spend time with engineering managers on particular sites so we can talk through the processes, and we get a detailed understanding of that mass balance across the site, that heat requirement across the site, the power requirements across the site. And at that point, we can then start creating a detailed decarbonisation plan that we know is implementable on that particular site.
Okay, perhaps you could give us a taster of these technologies. Is it about LED lighting and solar panels?
So most of our clients, they will have already had a look at the easy options like LED lighting or solar panels on roofs and that type of thing. We tend to get involved much more in the bigger picture items, the big ticket items that are causing carbon emissions across the sites. So we would work with a factory on how to de-steam that particular factory, how to de-steam the whole process, or look at compressed air and figure out how to come up with a carbon-reduced solution to compressed air across the factory. Heat recovery is another good example where we can take heat recovery and move it from one place to a different place and recapture that heat and reuse that heat. And then we also have things nowadays like heat pumps, cascade heat pump solutions in factories where we can create a completely decarbonised solution for that factory, which is exactly where we're trying to get to on our net zero journey via the various different roadmaps we use to get there.
Okay, at the end of all that, how much carbon emissions can you save your clients?
So these types of solutions can actually take your factory to a net zero state. So we can decarbonise all of your energy use across that factory, and obviously that's a huge benefit to be able to sell your products as completely net zero products. Whatever sector you're in, you're generally using the same types of process plant and equipment, and we can decarbonise those all the way down to zero for you across your factories.
Okay, can you share a case study with us?
Yes, yeah. So we've worked with a large food and drink company recently, and they had a decarbonisation plan in place from a large management consultancy firm. But the problem with that was it was very generic and very theoretical. And when we started looking at implementing projects on the ground, those projects that in theory worked weren't actually implementable on the particular sites. So what we did was we started again and we grouped the various sites in various different countries for this client, and we created technological solutions per type of site that we could go to site, we could ensure that those technologies, there was the space on site to be able to implement those technologies. We made sure those technologies worked within those factories. We were able to create a suite of solutions across a number of countries for this particular client, and we were able to cost those solutions and create a board paper that was submitted to their board and subsequently accepted, and the project has now been implemented and moving into the delivery phase for that particular client.
Let's say I'm a CEO or a Chief Sustainability Officer trying to secure internal buy-in for a decarbonisation plan. Can you give me 3 key arguments I can use to convince the board?
So, number 1, we're in the middle of a climate emergency and you need a decarbonisation plan. You may well have an ESG score, you may even have a decarbonisation plan, but you need a robust and detailed decarbonisation plan that is based on actual data in your various sites and various countries that you operate in. Number 2, a decarbonisation plan always requires detailed granular data collected by engineers with experience and know-how on how to decarbonise complicated factory sites. Not data that's been gathered by a large management consultancy firm that gives a general overview. It must be detailed granular data that you can use to deliver a detailed decarbonisation plan. And number 3, if you have any doubts about the viability of your decarbonisation plan, or if you don't have a decarbonisation plan at this moment in time, then please feel free to get in touch with Pad Energy and we'll bring all of our engineering expertise to bear to help you decarbonise your business.